Hand sewing. It's pretty easy. I'll show you how. Coming up. Hey, Chanel here, bringing you weekly videos to help you get better and better with your fashion sewing and be more creative too. So be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on a new video. So as soon as I tell my students we need to just do a little bit of hand sewing, their faces go. And I go, it's really not that hard. And they're always saying, do we have to hand sew in that? And then like our first few classes, there's a little bit of hand sewing, and then we make a skirt, and then I go, there's no hand sewing in this, it's all machine. And they're like, ah. And I'm always like, what's the big deal with hand sewing? It's just another part of it. It's like, don't you like hate emptying out the dishwasher? It's I don't know, I think because hand sewing a lot of times is at the end of something, and then you're like, want to be finished already, or you know, you're anxious to wear it or anxious to finish it, and then you got to still hand sew some stuff. That might be what it is. I don't know. Anyway, so if your face is like this, we say hand sew, and I'm going to help you out. First off, I've been sewing a long time. And I never really opened up the books to learn how to hand sew. I don't remember. It's been so long I can't remember. But I would, there's hand sewing stuff in every book you can get, and it'll give you great descriptions. I happen to really like this one, the Sewing, Stitch, and Textile Bible. I bought it for fabrics, but they have a great tutorial thing on how to hand stitch. And you know, maybe take some time and just get some fabric and just play around with it and just kind of do a couple of the stitches. And I gotta say, the one stitches that we do, there's a bunch of them. There's the ladder stitch, there's overcasting, lock stitch, gathering ease, buttonhole stitch, hemming stitch. I mean, that's a lot. But they all have really good reasons to do them. I just happen to know the gathering stitch, or not, I just looked at the gathering stitch. I do that on the machine. Although our first project we do a gathering stitch, and that's just up, down in fabric, and then you just pull the thread. Pretty simple. I do the slip stitch a lot. It's like it can make invisible hems, and I do the overcast stitch, and then you can also just do up, down, up, down. So I have these. We make these emojis in our school, and I wanted to show you. One of my students, they did. This was just up, down stitches. You can kind of see it's kind of coming apart right there. But it's just like needle up, down, up through it. And then this one was machine stitched here, and then you have to like hand stitch it here, but hid it really well. And I think just the black in here hides really well. But I wanted to show you this. This right here, she did like an overcast, like a whip stitch, I call them. I think kind of the same thing, and you just go over like that. I'm going to show you how to do that one. And then this one was really well done by my student Amanda. And oh my gosh, she just really, look at all the little stitches she did in here. And those are all whip stitch, like overcasting, and she just kind of went around and around like that. And took her time. And felt is actually really good to learn on. So get some felt and practice some of your stitching. She did really good. But right here, she did a slip stitch in here, which put these two layers together, and you can barely see them. So it's more of an invisible one, and it kind of connects the two pieces. So how I'm going to show you is I made this little pillow, and so I'm going to show you an overcast stitch on one side, and I just stuffed it with this really sticky stuffing. I don't know where I got it from. But you know, like if you're making a pillow, you're going to have two ends like this. You're going to tuck the ends under and then put some pins, and then either like slip stitch it closed or whip stitch it like that. So I'll show you how to do that. First off, you want to get the right needles. After so many years, I used to use really tiny, because I used to do evening gowns and all, and I would get really tiny needles, and because I was working like with chiffons and all, and they were real tiny, the tiny little eye, and that's when my eyes were better too. And I thought, you know, I mean, when you're working with chiffons, you need a pretty thin needle, because the bigger ones will put holes through real thin fabrics. So I would just do that in real small. But now I really like these longer needles like this. Oh, and they usually have a really wide eye. Also, do you know that if you put white behind it, if you can see the eye here, and I put white, I don't know if you can see that right there, behind the eye, it just takes the glare away, and you can really see the needle eye a lot better. But I think these are called, I think they're the embroidery ones. I think embroidery ones are pretty sharp because they're usually going through cotton fabrics. There's all different kinds of needles. This one says embroidery yarn. This was an old piece here, and that said sharps. And it seems the sharps tend to be smaller ones, and they're probably just sharper. So if you really got to go through real thinner fabric, I never really know what all these are for. And this one's darners. Those are usually pretty thick. Then you got the crewel ones, C-R-E-W-L. Those are for crafts. Like there's an old craft called crewel. That one's a little too big. You don't want to do really big ones unless you're sewing denim or something like that. But find a favorite needle you like. You'll go to the store and there's just lists on them. Look at the embroidery and then look for longer ones. Sometimes you'll get a package of these. I think these are literally like somebody gave these to me. They're probably from the 50s, maybe the 40s. I don't know, but I just kept them. I love them. But I like to get these long ones here. And if you get a whole pack, that's actually good. But find your favorite needle and then don't be like me and not document what it is. Actually, take a picture of it, the one you do, because then you run out of them or you lose them. Or if you're like me, your cat eats them. So watch that, by the way. Not funny. I was sitting down to sew one time, and my cat, and I never like really sew at home anymore, and I put this little tomato with a needle in it. My cat was like, from nowhere, just showed up and started eating, trying to get the needle. I don't know what happened. Anyway, long story. So also, you might want to get a needle threader. I don't really use these because I use the white paper behind the eye, and I'm really good at threading a needle. I think I've done it so many times. Also, the more you practice with these, just so much easier. Some clippers would be good instead of some big shears, but it's whatever you have. We also have a system here where we have a pin magnet that just holds on to one needle. You can do several, but we always know who's lost a needle if one of these flowers is empty. Oh, and they're not hand sewing. We got to keep track of that. Then good thread is really important. There is all these like dual duties. Gutermann is a pretty good one. The dual duties are a little rougher than the Gutermann. And then the best thread I like is the Malaniki. I can't read it. Hard to find this thread anymore, but really smooth. And the smoother the thread, the easier it goes through all of your fabrics. And then one really great tip is a beeswax, and it's a holder here with the cracks in here, and you just drag your thread through it. Like after you do your needle, you just drag it through, and then it coats the thread and helps it, doesn't prevent it all the way, but helps it from tying up. And then when it does, if it gets all tangled up, it's easier to untangle. So those are the tips with that. Now I want to show you how to do a couple little stitches with that, and then from there you just do it. You practice. All right, we're going to start with the slip stitch, or just the little hidden stitch right there. And the page on this looks right here, so they're showing you that you see a couple little stitches in there, and you just hide it under there. I'll show you how to do that. It's not completely invisible. I don't know if anything really ever is, but so first, like if you were stuffing this, you would fold, like if this were around 5/8, you would do the fold of that, like 5/8 there, and then you're going to pin it through both layers here, like that, right there, and then you're going to get your needle ready. I like to sew with double threads through here. Sometimes people do a single thread. I used to do that a lot, but it always came undone. And if you can do 2 threads, it's just extra strength. So now I'm going to put my needle under that. There's a stitch that ends right there, and I'm going to tuck that big knot. By the way, you got to put a knot in there. Actually, I'll show you how to do a knot in a minute. I love doing finish knots, so I'll show you how to do that. So my thread is now here, and I'm just going to kind of put the needle right close back to it to hide it. I think I probably went a little too far. And there we go. So there's that little, you can see that little green spot right here. So now I'm right where the opening is, and what I'm going to do is just take a little bit of that layer thread and then pick up a couple threads of the next part. How do you say, the other side? We've got two sides here, right here. And then so we have it up out of there, and now I'm going to put the needle, you can see it's kind of coming through here. I can actually even take it out if I can't get it gripped, and then get a little bit of just like 2 threads of the other side, 2 or 3 threads like that, and then you tuck it under there like that. So now it's starting to close up, and then I'm going to keep going. It's hard to do it when I'm trying to show you in the camera. And I'm just going to take a bite like that, and now I could throw that pin down there. And I'm going to go close to that one again, pick up another one. You can do these as close as you want. If it really needs to be sturdy, just do real tiny bites like that. And it will be, and then I'm going to take that pin out now. A lot of times the thread will get wrapped around those pins. It drives you crazy. And you just take a little bit, and see right there, come up, and grab a couple threads of the other side. Grab that, couple sides right there. You just get better at this as you go. And we're going to go to the ending. That's where the stitch right here that has a secured stitch so it doesn't come apart when I sewed it. Right there. And then make sure all of these are tight. Right there. And now to make the final knot, I'm going to put my thread through here. I'm going to create a loop right there, put my needle through it all the way, come back around and go through it again, and then pull. Makes a knot right there. And sometimes you could do it again. I'll do it again so you can see it. A loop right there. Sometimes it even twists around like that, which seems to still work anyway. You go through it again like that. Oh, sometimes you undo it. That happens a lot. You go like that and lap around like that, and then pull. Ta-da! Then you put your needle through one of the holes there, and then you just tuck it through here. There we go. And now I'm just going to cut that thread right there, and then let that thread hide out inside the pillow. So that is a slip stitch when you want to kind of close things off. And if you do them closer together, they're really much more secure and still hidden. Now we'll do a whip stitch on this side, and I'm going to use the same needle here. I'll grab some thread here and I'll show you. Also, you always want to, when you're done, you want to have a tail of thread left so that you can make the knot. So don't cheat on your thread length right here. So you know, sometimes if it's too long, it just gets tangled, and if it's too short, you don't have enough. Draw it through the beeswax. And how I make a knot too is I get these ends even right here. Knots are hard to do, but or they're easy to do, but you got to find your own way basically. So I'm going to do a loop there, squeeze it there. I'm going to put the loop, oh, got to get together, a loop like that. I don't know if you can see it right there. Start with that right there. And then put it over the other thread, and then it comes up through the hole right there, like that. And then you got to just pull it, and then it makes a knot that just came apart. Do it again. Like that, and then it made a knot. Some people wrap it around their finger and pull. I go through like that, and it only works for me half the time. So I'm just really good with going like this, like that. You just wrap it over, and then if you got a big knot like that, it's the better. That's actually better because that will hide underneath your seam. So now I'm going to put, I have this prepared, pinned right here. I'm going to put it, I'm going to hide that knot again underneath the seam here. So it's going to go under there. There it goes. It's hidden. And I'm going to bring my needle through here. Get it up like this kind of slip stitch part right there. And then to whip stitch it, you just go, you actually see the whip stitch more. You just take a little bit of each side. Actually, you can take that needle out now. You go like that. So you came up here, now you're going to bring the needle back around the under part here. And then looks like that. And then you just whip it. It's like a whip stitch. And you just go, sometimes these really go faster. And if you just do a nice even one, these are usually when you don't care if they show, like that. Go under, up. Take that needle out again. Under and up. Under and up. And just take, I'm not going too far in, so we just go under and up. And check in, make sure these are all smooth. A little bit on each layer. Like that. Coming to the end here. Like that. Okay, so nice even little whip stitch there. I'm going to come through and get my little loop. See, I have enough tail left on here to make a knot. Sometimes, I don't want to do too short. So there's the one thing. I'm going to go back through it again, right there, pull, and then it knots it in there. And then I'm going to hide it in there and then cut it off. Also, I wanted to show you real quick, just if you were sewing it up and down, you just go down, up, like that. Down, all the way through all the layers, like that. On this side, then you're going to go up. It's a good lessons in dexterity and also kind of knowing where like the needle's going to come up. So you just get used to, I don't know how to say it, space or something. And then you go down. And I also kind of like this, down, up. So I scooped it, went through here, and scooped it up that way. You can do that. It's like a down, up, scoop it, down, up, like that. So you can also sew it that way. And then you can knot it. Right? You want to always hide the knot though. See, that's there. But you have to kind of hide it in a seam. So there you go. That is how you do hand stitching. I'll show you real quickly how to use these if you're having trouble threading a needle. You take the needle eye right there, you slip that through there. So now that metal is here, actually I better move that so you can see. Then you put your thread through the much bigger eye right there. Then you just pull it through like that. And then you have it threaded. Something's happening here. Now I got to get that out of there. There you go. Now it's threaded. So these are pretty handy. Probably really cheap and easy to get because they do break sometimes if you pull it too far. So that is how to hand stitch. Well, there you have it. Hand sewing made easy. If you're a total beginner, get yourself some felt and go, get a needle with, get the longer needles, and then use the double thread with a knot on the end approach, because that way you don't lose the thread. If you do the single one, it just slips out and it's very frustrating. So get yourself also a Bible with some directions on hand stitching. You'll find them in most sewing books. They usually always have it. And then get over the fear of getting stuck by the needles, because it really doesn't hurt after a million times. So you don't want to be going, ah! So just do a little practice. If you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comments below and I'll answer them. I only answer the nice ones. I don't really get mean ones, but just in case. Anyway, and I'll see you in the next sew bit.